Typically, we guys, we like to be Mr. Fix-It, right? Here, we're in the workshop, we can see a problem, you fix it right away, hit the nail on the head, and then say, there you go, bang, nailed it. But that's not the way it's supposed to be, really.
And it's you and me, babe, whatever comes. Knowing bigger hands are holding ours, and the greatest days are ahead of us. Growing in love, learning to be a better us.
Welcome to A Better Us and to our home. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for stopping by.
I just said that.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. You weren't listening.
Actually, it's funny you should say that because that's exactly the topic Just the Guys of A Better Us are discussing today in a segment we call The Workshop.
Just in the nick of time. Also, in today's Loveology segment, author Shaunti Feldhahn addresses the common complaint of husbands.
My wife says I don't listen.
Yep, it's pretty common. And Shaunti brings some needed female wisdom to you guys in the workshop.
It's always great to have some guy time, but we also need to make time for each other, right?
Absolutely.
In our busy lives, which happens to be what Doctors Les and Leslie Parrott will help us do.
Our kitchen couples are standing by to join in that conversation later on. And it all starts right now.
All right, Shaunti, your research, and you have a mountain of it, looks a lot at the differences between men and women. And, here on Loveology, we have posed questions just for the woman. Here's one just for the men. And that is, why is it that sometimes we men feel like, we've been listening for the last 10 minutes to our wife, and then she says, why aren't you listening to me? Do you get that question the same way that we do?
We get that question all the time. And of course, every man has heard his wife say, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen, right? Like every guy has heard that. And he's like, what does that mean? Because I am. And so here's the translation of that. So it turns out that actually means I want you to listen to my feelings about the problem rather than really kind of the technical issues of the problem itself. And I know that might sound weird. Let me just explain this briefly. What we hear from a lot of the men, not all, by the way, because there are couples that are flipped on this, but in most cases, you men describe it as your whole lives. When someone is really emotional, like they come to you with emotion, like whether it's your wife or a colleague at work or something, your daughter, that your whole brain is sort of wired or trained to try to filter out all of those jangling emotions so that you can focus in on the problem and think clearly and figure out how to fix that, what's causing all of that emotion. And you don't actually realize that all those jangling emotions, that's what she most wants you to listen to. And so it's going to feel really weird at first. There's sort of a step one and a step two to this. And you don't have to take off your Mr. Fix-It hat, because I personally think that men are often very wired to be Mr. Fix-Its. And so you can still be totally who you are, but that's step two. Step one is kind of filtering out the problem for a minute. Like your wife is describing that her boss embarrassed her in front of her colleagues, and she's all emotional. Actually, don't focus on okay, so here's what we need to do when you go into the office tomorrow morning. Instead, literally focus on the feelings, all those jangling emotions, and dial into that. Like, whoa, was that embarrassing? Like, how did you feel when the meeting broke up? Were people looking at you sideways? And for you as a guy, you might feel like that's like throwing gasoline on a flame. Like, that's going to make it worse. And the analogy that we tell men based on these surveys is that's the wrong analogy. Think of it more like you're pulling poison out of a wound. And as she gets all that emotion out of her, you'll see her relax. And you'll see her be able to then dial into what you naturally want to do, which is to move to step two, which is, okay, what do you do when you go in tomorrow? But she'll be able to hear you then because she's felt heard.
So helpful. And I got to tell you, Shaunti, as a psychologist, as a guy that's been married to Leslie for more than 30 years, I still struggle with this. I teach other men how to do it. It's not an easy thing to do. And
No.
and I know from a female perspective, it should be the easiest thing in the world to do because you go out with your girlfriends and that's what you guys do together. But for a guy, we have this part of our brain, the frontal cortex, that is designed to solve problems.
Yeah.
And when you put a puzzle in front of a guy, that starts to light up and he can't help himself but to want to solve that puzzle. And so we have to put that in abeyance. And I practice this. I do. Every day I try to practice this, to put that in abeyance and focus on those feelings, to listen with what Theodore Reich used to call the third ear, right? Listening for the emotions, not just the verbiage.
Realize there's two problems. The second problem is the technical issue. The first problem is how she's feeling about it. So now you're still tackling a problem, but it's dealing with those feelings first, and that might help.
Man, if any guys out there struggling with it, I hear you. I'm in the same boat, but that doesn't mean we stop trying. And you have the research to back that up, Shaunti. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. Super helpful.
Well, welcome to the workshop with the guys of A Better Us. We got Mike Pinball Clemens, Dan McCauley, Eric May, and here we are looking to do a little home improvement.
Yes.
A la Tim the Toolman Taylor. Anyway, we are always looking for new tools and new ways and new things to understand. And that clip we just watched with Shaunti Feldhahn, it had some aha moments for me, for sure, because I see that and I think, oh my goodness, I've been doing things wrong.
Yeah.
I need to make a shift there. Typically, we guys, we like to be Mr. Fix-It, right? Here, we're in the workshop, we can see a problem, you fix it right away. You know, you hit the nail on the head and they say, there you go, bang, nailed it. But that's not the way it's supposed to be, really. But here we are in the workshop propagating that wrong idea, but we're going to try to fix it maybe by digging into it a little more.
I like what Shaunti does there because she like tricks us a bit. Yeah, she puts it in language for us men, because typically we've been told, because we stand there just like you said with our tools. We're like, how can we fix what's going on for my wife here? And then typically we're told, well, resist trying to fix it and just listen, right? But she says, don't put your fix-it tools away, but there's two problems.
Yeah.
And the second problem is the technical issue. The first one is about her feelings. So she gives us permission to fix it, but to focus our fixing on the thing that needs fixing, which is for her to be heard and her feelings to be understood. And so the tool that we bring out at that point is these guys right here, right? So we listen, we want to give her permission, per se, to like, okay, I'm listening, speak, tell me. And then I think after this, the second tool there, she's basically saying is asking questions. Simply, so she says what you're doing is you're helping her get the poison out. So you want to help her express herself. So a simple question like, how did that make you feel? Is a tool that we can suddenly use. We're fixing, but it's a different kind of fixing. And as guys, like she said, we might be afraid of that at first. Like if I say, how did that make you feel? I'm gonna be here all night. I got things to do, a little. But like, you know what? If you don't address it properly, this problem isn't going to get solved. And so in some ways, you're going to be dealing with it maybe even longer than the night. But if you just open that door and say, how did that make you feel? And let her get to the feelings, we can talk about if there's actual things that need to be fixed later. And let her get that poison out. For me, that was a light bulb.
That's good.
Well, my light bulb moment here is, because this is something that I struggle, because I'm a fix-it guy, right? And well, I guess we all are, and that's probably why we're here in this setting. Right. The thing that I kind of snapped on was, that's exactly what I should do with the kids. Kid falls down, right? It makes sense. My kid falls down, right? and they're running over a wet surface that they shouldn't have been on, right? The very first thing is, you shouldn't be, right? The very first thing is, how are you? Right? Are you okay? Is everything good? And after everything is good, right, and we check out, then whether it's 5 minutes later, right, or 5 days later, right, we can say, okay, now listen, you really shouldn't run on this type of surface, especially when it's wet, right, or whatever the particular lesson is. But actually reaching them and trying to reach their immediate need, it makes so much sense. And I'm thinking now that I was the one that wasn't sensible in this whole thing, right? That obviously we should look after them and their emotional feelings first, and then from there we can go on and maybe offer some tips or potential information or instruction.
Yeah, I like that. That is really good. Really good.
And it reminded me of this. There's that well-known skit. I think we've mentioned it before on the show. Of "It's Not About the Nail."
Oh, yeah.
And the husband and wife are chatting, and she's just sharing she has this pain in her head, and she has this headache, and he's like pointing, but then it pans out, and it shows this huge nail right through her skull and her head, and he's like pointing out the nail, but she's just like, no, this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing's not about the nail, because, and what I found in my marriage with Kara is that she really like prioritizes the journey of talking it through, of feeling all the feels, and she prioritizes being heard. And that's something that as the person that is representing the married under 10 years, that's still something that I am working on, because I would love to be like, here's the solution, awesome. Kiss on the forehead, let's go.
Les said he's been married over 30 years in that segment, and he's still. So,
well, hey, me too. I'm definitely there, because, initially I started thinking, what's the big deal? Why is she all worked up about this? Something you don't want to say to your wife is, why are you so worked up about this? Not a good start.
You're so emotional.
Yeah, why are you so emotional? No. Even though to me it seems irrational, just the way my mind works, and I'm just kind of the laid back and nothing ruffled my feathers kind of guy, and her not so much. So, but we need to realize that that first step that she said is not just asking about her feelings, but also even going further to empathize, meaning you feel and you say, oh man, that must have really hurt. I'm so sorry that happened to you. And
so that must be so tough. How are you dealing with that? How are you feeling?
That's like gold to her. That's saying, okay, he actually did listen. He gets it. He's not just writing me off because he thinks I'm some crazy emotional
that would be like
case.
a step beyond humoring her by listening to her. It takes it beyond. So you've not emphasized, empathized with it. Yeah.
And maybe even asking, how can I help? Like, wow, how are you processing that, and how can I help?
Yeah, that's good. And even instead of offering a solution right away, like after you've empathized, a question like that. Is even, maybe you don't know what to do. A lot of times I don't know how to fix this one, but how can I help is a great question as well.
Yeah. And the thing is, you have helped, is what she's saying, just by letting them express it and just pulling that poison out. And that analogy was like a big one for me. It was like, oh, okay. So by letting her talk about how she felt, that is us helping without doing anything. It feels to us like I'm not really fixing anything, but you are.
Yeah, just like my ears are open. That's all I've done, but that's all I want.
That's good. So one thing I was thinking about when I look at all these tools, like in every house that I've lived in, our family, I always one of the first things I want to do is organize my tools. So I get the pegboard out, and I get the workbench, and I get the hooks, and I hang this here, and I say, oh, okay, this is really good. But they don't do a lot of good just hanging there. You actually have to pick them up and you have to use them.
Yeah.
So in marriage, ministry, you learn something. Maybe you see this video, you say, oh, there's a good tool, of listening first and really listening. But we need to, and I'm guilty of that because I've learned it, I've read the books and so on.
Got to take it off the
But you actually
pegboard.
got to take that tool off the pegboard and say, you know what, in the circumstance, I need to use this tool or else it doesn't do any good. Just
Make sure the
just
battery's
hanging
charged. It's ready.
there.
to
Charge up
go.
that battery. Okay.
Yeah.
So guys, look for an example, look for an opportunity to listen
Yeah.
to your wife
Nice.
a little bit more than you ever have in
Opportunity.
the next day or
I like
two.
that.
An opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
she'll probably like it.
It'll go well for you for sure.
I think the operative thing there was in the next day or two.
Right,
Let's
before you
make
forget about it.
Yes, let's do it right away.
Use that tool.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Thanks, guys, in the
Awesome.
workshop. It's good stuff. Stay with us. More Better Us to come.
We just don't seem to have time with each other. And it doesn't matter your age or your stage. Even newlyweds sometimes feel this way because they're hard working at their careers or what have you. And then kids come along. It's like, whoa. And
We thought it was bad before, and now this.
and now
Yeah.
another kid.
Yeah.
Hey friends, Ron and Ann here. We're so glad you're with us at A Better Us, and we pray your marriage is blessed as you take this in.
Be sure and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and enjoy this video.
You know, this is the second biggest complaint that most couples have in their marriage relationship. The first is communication. We just don't communicate the way we want. But the second is we just don't seem to have time with each other. And it doesn't matter your age or your stage. Even newlyweds sometimes feel this way because they're
yeah.
hard working at their careers or what have you. And then kids come along. It's like, whoa. And
We
so-
thought it was bad before, and now this.
and now
Yeah.
another kid.
Yeah.
So how do you come up with time? Well, one key is to understand your time styles, because when you understand how each of you is hardwired for time,
Right.
you begin to reclaim the moments you've been missing together.
That is so true. This is really key. Like, I live in the here and now. I'm all about the present, and you are not there.
I'm all about the there and then.
Yeah.
I love planning for the future.
Yeah.
And so we have this very different kind of perspective on time. That's why Leslie can say, hey, let's walk down to the coffee shop. And I'll say, we don't have time. She'll say, what do you mean? It's just like 5 minutes from here. And I said, no, it's like 20 minutes from here. She'll say, well, it feels like 5 minutes. Well, I don't care what it feels like. It's 20 minutes, right?
Because I'm in the here and now, and I'm not scheduled. You're in the future, and you're all about your schedule.
Yeah, and you're
So-
really subjective with time,
Yeah.
right? It's
And
what
not
more about
you.
what it feels
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, for me, So it's all about, hey, what seems like the right thing to do right now? And for you, it's what was on my schedule.
So here's the deal. As you understand that with each other,
Yeah.
it creates more empathy, more grace, and it just connects you because of that. And you begin to realize, oh, okay, so now we need to be intentional. That's awareness,
Yeah.
right? Once you become aware of something, then you can do something about it. So you become intentional about carving out these moments that are just for the two of you.
Right. Yeah, and when I'm married to a planner, that involves planning. And when you're married to someone who loves the here and now, it means maybe you keep it a secret plan and you spring it on me spontaneously. Honestly,
Always give and take,
we
right.
find a way to connect.
Yeah, so there you go. A few tips on recovering the moments you've been missing together.
Well, we are in the kitchen once again with our kitchen couples. Always a great place to be around the island here.
Yeah.
And we don't vote anyone off the
No,
island.
no, we all stay on the island. We have Mike and Diane, of course, and Eric and Kara. And yeah, it's always fun to learn and glean from those who have a lot of wisdom when it comes to
Yeah.
marriage relationships.
Like Drs.
and
Les and
stuff.
Leslie
Yeah.
Parrott. And this idea of our time styles, it's kind of a different thing. Now, I saw a sign. You were shopping in a store, and I usually try to find a seat, but it was one of these knick-knack stores, and I saw this little sign painted. I thought, hey, so I took a picture of it, because it said, a woman's be ready in 5 minutes, and a man's be home in 5 minutes mean exactly the same thing.
Exactly the same
It has
thing.
nothing to do with 5 minutes.
Exactly the same thing. And that is our time differences because, like they were saying, we just live life differently. We experience life differently. And some people are just, let's do it now. And other people are saying, but it's not on the calendar. It's not on the schedule. So that can cause some clashing in our relationships.
Yeah, so we have to figure out, how do we actually understand each other's time style, but then deliberately, make time together and make the time to.
So you
that we
guys,
need to.
you've been married 8 years.
Yes.
Yep.
So you've learned a few things.
Yeah, well, we're right in the thick of this because I started a new job. We have 2 babies now. We're learning new schedules. And with
busy.
that comes with a lot.
I like to say it's a good busy because it is a
Yes.
good busy, but it's
Seriously.
busy.
But with that, some moments we only get to see each other at 10 p.m. at night. So, and that goes for people who are shift workers too, or on different schedules as your spouse. So sometimes we only see each other from 10 p.m. on because I've been out or he's been out with work or whatever it may be. And so I think the quality sometimes is better than the quantity, and I think that's when you learn each other's love language, because you may not have a ton of time with each other during the week because kids schedule, your schedule, different events, but if you make sure the times you are together there's quality there, sometimes the quantity.
We want to value our time together as well, and it's the discipline of prioritizing your values. You choose what is most important to you, and it's there's this thought I've been in my mind for the past few months of just you choose what matters most over what matters now. In the here and now, I could be doing this, but what can I sacrifice to choose what matters most? And time with my wife matters more than a lot of the things that I end up spending my time doing, and so I feel like I need to choose that discipline of prioritizing my values first. So choose what matters most over what matters now.
Which might mean you say no to a few things so that you can do that.
That's good.
But people are so important, right? And you have all these people to see and to it has been a journey, learning what time together means. Right? Because time together sometimes, right? I mean, to a guy, right? It means, okay, we get home and we spend an hour watching sports, right?
Love language right there.
And that doesn't work. So really this whole process of really learning and understanding, and it does change over time, right? Alone time can mean just being home in time to help with the kids and get everybody to bed and have a little time in the evening. It could mean, right, going out, right? Well, I really need, this time in the house is not what I mean by time. I need some time out of the house. Now, and then there's a time when, no, that time out of the house is no good. I need time out of the country, right?
Summer hot on the beach.
Yeah, so it does change, and it does move, and it is fluid. And so that communication, that constant communication is so important.
And that time out of the house does not mean, oh, we're going to go to an event tonight. Right. No, because there's 500 other people at that event, so I won't see you at that event, right? So you have to pick and choose those quality times, because that time that you do get, make it count. It has to matter, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's 5 hours. Choose, and hear me when I say choose, to make it count. Because you can be, it's only 5 minutes. No, you got 5 minutes? Choose to make those 5 minutes count.
That's good. It's quality time, but is your time quality?
Right.
Now with us, we work together.
Yeah.
And so that's a little different than, I guess they'd say in the States, y'all. It's a little different than y'all. But so we're together all the time.
All the time.
And so, but it's
good.
but it's kind of in a work mode.
Yeah.
So we have to deliberately, intentionally say, okay, now often over lunch, we'll do something.
See, okay, so we really, he's so competitive. I've said this before. He's my Rock of Gibraltar, steady Eddie guy. Nothing, rocks his boat, except when it comes to competing in games. Loves to compete in games. Exactly. So quite often, basically every day, our kitchen table is our office. And so once we're saying, okay, it's noon, it's lunchtime, I'll make lunch and we'll pull out a deck of cards. We'll play Phase 10 or I don't know, whatever. We have lots of different games we like to play. So we'll play different games, and during that 1 hour, we don't talk about work, we don't talk about scheduling, don't talk about anything else. we just get in the moment. I mean, we trash talk each other. We're going down, and it's just a whole different atmosphere.
So does this trash talk happen after you guys work on all the marriage
Exactly.
advice?
It's kind of our decompressed valve that we press. Okay. Okay, we're human. Okay, now get back to the good stuff.
Yeah, but one of the good stuff we heard from one of our marriage experts on A Better Us. He said about scheduling your priorities on the calendar. And he said, like, daily, you should have at least 15 minutes together just to, decompress from the day and just talk. And then, so there's a daily, weekly, the date night type of thing, at least once a week. And then quarterly, have at least a weekend away. And that's important. And then annually, take that week away, do that vacation, go out of the country if you want to. And so there, you could, if you look at it in those type of, daily, weekly, quarterly, annually, then you could, but actually schedule it, because if you don't, it's not going to happen. Put it in the calendar in big bold letters, so that other things don't impinge on it.
And if you're a young family, look for other young families and say, listen, we can't afford to go on vacation, but we will take your kids Friday night if you'll take our kids Saturday night or something.
Even a date night thing.
A date night thing where, you kind of trade off, or for the whole weekend, and then you have a whole weekend, a staycation. So anyway, just some ideas.
Okay, well, this has been time well spent, guys.
And in other words, she's right again.
Yes.
Yes.
Quality. Okay, stay with us. More to come.
Missed an episode of A Better Us? No problem. Visit abetterus.tv and click Watch, where you can enjoy past episodes and even share them with your friends. Each episode is packed with practical advice to help you and your relationship become a better us. While you're there, click subscribe to receive your free weekly Marriage Moment email. Also like us on Facebook to receive program previews, news about upcoming events, and inspirational quotes. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
Well, this episode has flown by, but we had some time to cover some pretty good ground.
Right. Like our workshop discussion with the guys about how to best listen to our wives so that they truly feel heard. I think I've gained some new tools for when we have those heart-to-heart moments, hon, and things like not jumping into fix-it mode right away.
You know what? I look forward to you using some of those new tools as well. And we also heard about making time for each other in our busy lives. Yes, time for those heart-to-heart talks, but more than that, it's understanding that we're different in our time styles, and we need to show grace as we prioritize those important times together.
Right. And that includes times to just have fun, which is not always easy, especially with our busy lives. But as we've learned over the years, putting that extra effort into your relationship is always worth it.
And it's great to remember that God is with us and can provide the kind of strength we need when we feel overwhelmed. And He sometimes directs us to join our faith with someone else who can pray with us. And that's what our prayer line is for.
The number on the screen will connect you with a loving person who would love to pray with you about whatever it is you're going through. And it's available 24 hours a day.
Also, you can visit our website at abetterus.tv for lots of marriage resources that will help to strengthen your relationship with God and with your spouse.
Well, thanks again for stopping by. And remember, with God, there is always hope to become a better us. Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here with A Better Us on our YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage better.
You can see just a few options we think you might like here and here.
Enjoy! Oh, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here so you don't miss out on all the great marriage help we have coming your way soon.